Is this working? It's working. So I was so worried nobody could show up. Thank you for coming in the cold. I'm Diane. I'm one of the committee that organizes Community Colloquy, along with Carolyn Mullen, our director of the Senior Center, Susan Albert, Kate Anderson. I think that's all who are here. Devon Height is not here, I don't think. And we started a couple years ago with these monthly programs, and I believe one of our goals was community building, the belief that it's a good idea to talk about things. And we've been bringing topics of interest, local interest, having local speakers, and sparking conversation around the issues and even around hard issues. And I think we could agree that this is maybe a bit of a hard issue in Yellow Springs, cost of living, the rising cost of living. We originally planned tonight to have a more traditional format, to have a panel and audience. And we decided to try for more intimacy by using a circle. So it's not exactly intimate because we have lots of people, but we are hoping to engage everybody here, or as many who would like to speak. What we'll be focusing on is two questions. The first is, how am I affected? How am I and my family and friends affected by the cost of living in Yellow Springs? And the second question that we will go to after people speak on the first one is, what can we do as a small community to help those who are struggling? We have people here with us who are listening and who are in positions where they might be able to make something happen. We have Lynn Kramer from Yellow Springs Foundation. We have, let's see, Dorothy from the school board, also Rebecca from the school board, Kevin from Village Council, and Carmen from Village Council. So we appreciate you all. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming. So what we'll do to start out is a couple of people have committed to speaking, and I appreciate their bravery in doing so, about their experience with the cost of living in Yellow Springs, how that has affected them. Misty Monet and Carmen Lee. And we are going to start out with each of them talking for maybe 5 minutes about your own experience. And then what we want to have happen is just everybody jump in, and anybody who wants to speak, again, focusing on your own experience. We have a few guidelines. We're, of course, asking people to be respectful of each other, no interrupting. Try to keep it brief, because obviously we have a lot of folks here tonight. And if you can, try to speak from the heart and just be personal in terms of speaking of your own experience. We're not asking you to lay bare your financial statements. You can be affected in many ways. You might want to talk about the financial practicality of cost of living. For you, you might want to talk about how it affects your friends, or just your feeling about the town you live in. So there's all kinds of ways you can answer that question. So thank you again, and I think we'll get started.
When could I say a little something?
Sure.
I got a big voice. I'm Kate Anderson. I'm here representing James A. McKee Association tonight. This is a bit of an experiment. We have talked about, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you on? Are you on?
No.
Speaking. All right, got it. Okay. We had a conversation about maybe some of these conversations could be collaborative. And this is the first one we've done, where the Key Association and the Senior Center work together on something. So I think that's good. And you'll see more of it in the future. We'll do some more things together. Yeah, so I also want to say it's important for you to speak your truth, whatever that is. This is a safe place. So know that, be okay. Somebody will be there with you if it starts to not feel good for you. All right, just know that. So with nothing more to say, let's,
Everybody turn your phone off. Good idea. Thank you, Patty. Yeah, Carmen and Misty will kick off. Let's see, who wants to go first?
Carolyn.
This is also, we are
Okay.
recording this and there are people participating on Zoom. But if something is said this evening that people would prefer not to be kept in perpetuity, let me know. You can email me here at the center and we will be able to edit this before it's shared publicly.
My name is Carmen Brown. So you know me as Carmen Reed. That's my name. Carmen Brown is my Carmen Reed. I think that it's good for us to kind of start off with a baseline about what poverty is or being poor is. And the only thing that it is not having financial literacy. That's the only thing that it is. And then it becomes the living to paycheck, from paycheck to paycheck. It becomes that. There are some of us who come from generations of that kind of poverty, but because of how things have happened historically, at some point, had a lot of wealth. So we need to acknowledge that. Poor doesn't mean anything except for that. I just wanted to get that out of the way. One of the things that's been the most eye-opening for me at Yellow Springs is that there have been a great many of people who are kind of part of, historical families who have had to go because of the cost of living. People who have chosen to buy a house in Springfield or Virginia or Fairborn because it wasn't going to be possible for them to be able to stay at home. For me, I been kind of living in the periphery of Yellow Springs since I had to leave in 2002 because I couldn't find an apartment. So I left with it was me and my then 3-year-old son. And I had every intention of being able to stay while Rowan was growing. And I was fortunate enough to have him be able to attend Yellow Springs schools, at least for elementary. It was very, it was heartbreaking to not be able to find a place to stay in a place that was my home. And when I would talk about it with people who weren't from Yellow Springs, they would say stuff like, oh, what's the big deal? Because they didn't get it, because they can't get it. And having come from a place as special as this community is, and then to come back and see the kind of situation that we're in with regard to diversity in all kinds, race, class, socioeconomic status, all of that stuff, and to see how that's changed is so I'm gonna say eye-opening, to say the least. And I feel like I'm taking up the mic, and I feel like I could go on for a long time. I'm not doing that. The other thing that I want to add before I stop talking is how important having conversations like this, like these conversations are. And one of the reasons why I reached out to you, Diane, Because we have in this community we just want to help. Just want to help. So we have committees and groups and focus groups that come together with every good intention. But, you know, through really no fault, forget about the people who are having this lived experience. And it's important that we include the people that are experiencing poverty, people that are experiencing having to maybe leave home because of the cost of living. So, and that's in every regard. You know, we wouldn't have a dog owners group with cat people. No one has a dog. What are you doing? So it's important that we keep that in mind when we're kind of forming these groups and committees regarding people's lives. That's right.
Good evening. My nickname is Misty. That's my singing name, rap name, long story. My biological name is Teresa Monet Gill. And I was introduced to Yellow Springs through Antioch College. About maybe 15 years ago, I took a position as the office manager in the dining services department before they closed down. So that was how I was introduced to Yellow Springs and fell in love. I lived here previously, maybe about 12 years ago, for about 3 years. And now I'm back. And I've been here about 5 or 6 years. So I've been in. I'm an employee in Yellow Springs. I'm a busker, which is someone who can sing, or I sing for donations. And I also sing in people employing. So I'm a vocalist. I love to sing and write poetry. So I'm going to read from my notes, if you don't mind. I have notes, and so I just went from living on the edge, and so I'm going to go from one of my notes. Okay, so this statement is pretty much the basis of where I'm going to start. And I don't know who made the statement, but I really like it. It says, economic progress is about qualitative and quantitative improvement in people's lives. To me, that means quality of life. Now, where I live is subsidized housing. So when people, I know I hear about affordable housing a lot, and I don't hear about where I live. So I don't know if it's on the table. I don't know if it's an option, but that's the affordable housing. The most affordable housing in Yellow Springs is subsidized housing under Green Metropolitan Housing Authority. Now, the problem with that is, as far as economic progress, where I live, every day someone is looking for and desire to enhance their quality of life. I see a lot of desire and I don't see direction, any direction. Where I live is only for disabled and low income. So if you're there and you're low income, if you're there and you're young, you're more than likely to there because you have a disability and you're low income. And most of those people, including myself, are mostly survivors of traumatic situations. And they are trying to find their own way. And I don't even want to go into my affection for the elderly. most of them in subsidized housing are not only getting older and older, but they're also low income. That the background is long and they don't get enough attention. Okay. So now I am a survivor and I'm trying to be more than that. Now I'm trying to be what they call a thriver. And what that means is that you find strength to accept yourself and all of its magnificence. And you truly look at what you've been through and you fully integrate it into who you are today and who you ultimately want to be. And so, me living in Yellow Springs, personally, that statement as a driver, I was able to find my way at the Yellow Springs Community Foundation, which is where I'm employed. And the two things that really assisted me as someone that does live on the edge, mentally and financially, is what was missing for me is as an African American woman, one, feeling like I had a voice, and they made me feel that way immediately. And two, feeling like I had a safe place to be mentally and a safe place when it comes to the abuse of my body, physically. So I was safe. I'm safe now. I can lock the door if I'm doing a bounce. It's wonderful. And I'm going to tell you from my own personal experience, I 100% believe that I feel like I have a voice there because I'm with a group of all women. And there's a passion there. All of my experiences with men in hierarchical positions have been horrific. I'm from Chicago. Now, the catch to this is I am a researcher. I'm still searching. And those that have low feelings of worth, I'm confident with feelings of worthiness. Some people are not searchers. They're just at a point of survival. So, because we don't know everyone's resilience level and where they're at mentally, we need to come to them. And when I say come to them is the savings program. This is coming to them. This is an opportunity for everyone low income to sign up and learn how to live past your mom. Needs to learn how to invest and learn about Bitcoin. Imagine, I think it's 250 people have an opportunity to, this is a solution, I think, is what I'm saying. An opportunity to learn something you never learned before, Bitcoin and stuff. And you don't, it's not even an opportunity, you're forced into it. You're going to learn about it. You can't touch it. You're going to learn how to make your money grow. I don't know anything about that. I'm excited. And imagine from the older community that are under that income gap, the younger community, Antioch College. Imagine how many young people can wrap their head around this Bitcoin thing and help us and teach us. You know, it'd be amazing. Like, we're going to really make a name for ourselves with this. And then also the life equity, which is helping people with immediate needs. So those are some things. On a lower scale thing that would help is for our younger community, we need to make sure they have an entrepreneurial mentality. And we need to make sure that we encourage their entrepreneurial mentality. We need to give them free booth space to sell their crafts, and they get to keep their money and maybe, a percentage towards something they believe in, but we need to allow them to sell their crafts, give them a stipend, go buy it so they can flip it, you know what I mean? And this is for the elderly too, because I was speaking to some elderly people in my complex and they said they would like to learn how to make crafts and sell them. So they deserve free space at the, I would say maybe the Bryant Center as well, their own time, not with the young people, but their own time and the young people's own time. And I'm talking about teaching them about entrepreneurship from the Yellow Springs Youth Board to the mentees and the mentorship program. I was a part of that too. There's a youth mentorship program.
Village Impact Project.
Village Impact Project. They need to learn about entrepreneurship as well. So that's a small thing that could help. Another small thing that is kind of huge is the car donation program, because we do have a transportation service, but the wait time for each bus, I believe, is 2 to 3 hours for travel, and then also it ends at 4. So opportunities for employment outside of Yellow Springs is difficult. Being able to get places as a mother or a single person or wanting to help others be valuable. A car donation program was a good idea. And then also, are there people that will be willing to hire those with records in town? Cresco, I believe, is coming up with like a gazillion jobs this year, maybe not a year or something. But will they hire people with records? Will they hire people that need marijuana for pain purposes? But that's an option, is to look into other employment opportunities for those that are struggling. One huge thing about outreach is when you can enhance a person's quality of life, then you are helping them to remove themselves from living on the edge, mentally and financially. And there was a brother by the name of, I want to say Lee, he works with the thank you, and he walked through an entire program with someone that needed intense care. I mean, from getting the phone, getting an ID, getting social security card, getting housing. People really need some one-on-one time with those type of things. And I'm also a client at TCN, so I can tell you from experience with TCN, which is a behavioral health facility, it pretty much depends on the person, the case manager you get. It depends on the person that you get. Because some are burning out, they're ready to go, some don't last long, some are tired, some are new and they're thriving and they're excited and they leave, it's a lot. So if they could get some help, maybe people could donate their time to sit down and say, what do you need? How can I help you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish? That would be really great. Someone like me, a few more times in the week than I think he's coming once a week and working with once. And in closing, I would like to say, you can't make money if you can't think straight. Okay, that's it.
So I want to repeat, asking folks to speak, anyone who would like to speak on the question of how does the cost of living, the rising cost of living in Yellow Springs affect you in your life? And thank you, Missy, and thank you, Carmen, very much. So yeah, and before you speak, could you say your name and how long you've been in Yellow Springs? So who is next?
My name is Desiree Powers. I've lived in Yellow Springs 30 years. I've raised my 3 children here. When I moved here, I was married and we bought a house and raised my kids in the house. Later, tragedy struck and I became a widow in 2002. And there's trauma and trying to stay in town with 3 kids. I'm now in Home Inc., affordable housing. And I have my own little apartment, and I have a dog and a cat. The kids are grown. The kids are all in Yellow Springs. I have lived all over the country and overseas. My mom's from Germany. I've gone to 5 high schools in 4 states, so I've never had a home. So we chose that Yellow Springs would be home because my family settled in Ohio, my parents, and so I wanted to live somewhere where, you could walk, go to the store, you didn't have cars everywhere. So that's why we came here. But anyway, it was very, very hard some years. As a widow, I did get Social Security survivors benefits, and that pulled me through until the kids got to a certain age. And they're all staying here right now, so I'm staying here. I want to be close to my family, to my grandkids, to my daughters and my son. I live very frugally, and I always have. Don't need much, so I wouldn't say that the cost of living, I don't have to pay, all the taxes people who have larger homes and property have to pay, but I do live paycheck to paycheck. And if it weren't for Home Inc., I'm not sure what I'd do. I may have had to finally just leave and go to Fairborn or something like that and ride the bus every 2 hours to get over here. But I'm thinking more of my kids, and as long as they're here, they're struggling, trying to pay rent. Rent is the big thing. It's very high in this town. So when I moved here, I don't remember it being that much. I don't know what the proportions are now, but I remember the house I bought at that point was $80,000, and the realtors told me I could get the same thing in Fairborn for $70,000. I think there's a bigger gap now. So it's the same with the rent. It's, I don't know, it's double, but it's a lot higher for the same space than it was when I moved here 30 years ago. So I'm just trying to stay where my kids are. If they stay here, I'll stay here. I sometimes think if they would all leave, I don't know if I would stay anymore because town just feels so different somehow now, and I'm kind of a keep to myself. I don't get out a whole lot, but when I do get out, I like to say hi to people I know and interact, and I hope it'll always be that way. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Desiree.
Hi, my name is Mitzi Miller. I came to town over 30 years ago. And I lived in an upstairs apartment. I paid $175. Had a wonderful landlord who lived below me, and it was her house, Peggy Brown. Some people might remember her. But it was because of her kindness that I was able to, and my partner were able to save money and buy a piece of property and build a house. And I've often thought, living in my house now by myself, about giving back. And it would be wonderful if, especially some of the seniors, had the opportunity or there was some assistance to help make a home or a garage into an apartment, and with the agreement that, it'd be used as a rental. I think there's an opportunity for seniors to consider that. I just know I'm starting to think about that, or sharing my house with somebody. just because of the need for housing in Yellow Springs. It's just a really large need. And I think, impact rentals. I don't know what the answer is, but I see where, if there was opportunities, that would be something to consider.
Kate Anderson, I've lived in town 36 years now. So recently I had a lesson, and yet another lesson in, the cost of trying to stay here. 3 years ago, I lost my husband, so you find yourself in that category, things change. And financially they change, so, okay, I rethink my life and how the cost of my life was gonna go. About a week and a half ago, I went to the village utility office, because I'm on level billing and I wanted to know why my level billing wasn't changing. Because I went from 3 adults in a house of about 1,700 square feet, 3 adults in a house to me, 1 adult in a house, and the number's not changing. My gas bill changed, that level billing went down, thank you. And what I got, in a very professional, pleasant way, was a list of fees and costs and stuff that apparently, that have gone up, increased across many things. And I was astounded by, what do you mean? What's this? What's this? What's this? We hear all the time about hidden fees and, 47 different charges for whatever. Well, that's what I got. And she told me, if I change your level billing, it'll only go down $5. And I kind of went, well, I'd rather have that $5 in my pocket than yours, but how can that be? But what I got was, and I would encourage you to go ask about it, honestly, because I'm involved. I know what's going on in my world here. And I was really taken aback by it, And having lived here 36 years, I've watched, a gentrification happen here. That first house I bought in town on Walnut Street, I think I paid $70,000 for it. And I said, I think I just got the last good buy in town. Because from then on, things, and I sold that house. I don't remember what I sold for, 150 or something like that, but, so trying to, in recent, elections, have now put me in the position of, oh God, I don't know if I can stay here or not. I would, in a heartbeat, sell my house, my big old house that I'm rumbling around in, and downsize, but there's nothing here. And it's not a good time to do that anyway. Financially, it's bad move to get involved in buying and selling houses right now. So, okay, I've decided I'm gonna give it a year and see how it comes out at the end of that year. And then I have a big decision to make, and I'm gonna leave here, but I'm not so sure I'm gonna have a choice. So it's a kind of ugly truth for not just me. I sit with a group of women, all widows. There's a lot of widows in this town who are in the same spot. And the conversation is always, ooh, I don't know how this is gonna go. Some are more fortunate than others, Then we have conversations about, oh, maybe we should just buy a big old house somewhere and all live together. Go back to communal living. Not a bad idea. Co-housing is a great idea. We should do that here. Well, we tried to and it fails. So the other thing, for me, that's where I sit. I'm sitting in a spot where, oh, wow, I don't know how this is gonna go. And I don't like it. I do not like it. I've invested here in so many ways that I don't want to go there for. But I don't know, we'll see. One thing I do, because I am McKee Association, I want to remind people about this study. I don't know if you even know about this study. This study will tell you everything you want to know about this town. And it's not good news. All right? This is based on the census. So every 10 years, the Key Group does a scientific study. This is a scientific study on Yellow Springs. And it is full of really good information. I don't think too many people know about it or have even actually read it or looked at it. It's full of great charts. You don't have to read a lot. You can look at charts. I'm a visual person. It helps.
Where do you get a hold of that?
So this is at the Yellow Springs Library.
It's online.
Yeah, and it's on the Keys website, which is 45387.com. All right, there's a PDF up there. You can go download it or look at it or whatever. I'm serious. This is extremely helpful to help us understand where we're at and where we are going. And how we might go differently. So again, I'm encouraging you to look at this. This is a really important document. There's 4 of them now. And all 4 of them are online. So you can not only 3 of them, Don's telling me 3. So that's 30 years worth of data. Right. And it does, some of it will shock you, guarantee you, it'll shock you. It's worth it, even in your own, where you live and how you live, this can be helpful to you. So that's all I have to say.
Just, I want to throw out one quick statistic. I'm just gonna toss this number out based on what Kate was saying. The percentage of seniors in the 45387 zip code who live in poverty is 8.9%. The county-wide average is 6.7%. So keep that in mind. There's more in poverty in Yellow Springs than in the rest of the county.
I'm Patty Dallas. I'm born and raised here. But I haven't been here the whole time. When my daughter got pregnant and I lived for a while in Asheville and Ann Arbor. And then my daughter was expecting a baby and wanted me to come back to Yellow Springs. And I was friends with Jane Baker, and I asked if I could stay at her house while I looked for a place. And it turned out that it worked out really nicely for me to be there. This was right at the beginning of COVID. And so I was able to be helpful to Jane. And I kept asking her, well, is this still working out, you know, for me to be here? And she really enjoyed having me, and my daughter would bring my then baby granddaughter to the house for a couple of days out of the week, and Jane just loved that. So that's one thing that seems worth investigating is, like Kate was saying, you know, shared housing. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, I've been lugging around, not lugging, but I've had this box of letters that I wrote to my parents like many, many years ago, like through the 60s through the 70s. And so finally I've been reading these letters, which is amazing. And I realized that several times in my life I've lived communally. I was, you know, I happened to go out to San Francisco State to college in 1965. So of course that was the whole beginning of the hippie thing. And there was a lot of back to the land. I lived in British Columbia for a while, and just a lot of communal living going on. And, lately I've been thinking, well, there are some parcels of land, just out, just near town. And if there was some way to pool together and figure out a way to make like, almost like a little village or a little something that would be, we'd be sharing place and space and maybe have like in co-housing, they usually have a big community place where people can eat together. And, I just feel like just the fact that we have to constantly be making money to do anything. Don't get me started on that, but anyway, I just wanted to throw that out, just that I feel like that we really need to be innovative and explore the various paths. Some of us are older than others, and the thing that draws us to Yellow Springs is that it's really a community. But, it could even be more of a community if we really would feel more connected with each other. I think that's enough.
It feels like there's a lot of energy toward the question of what can be done. So I guess I want to invite everyone to join in answering that question or asking it, and as well as sharing your stories. We can do both, obviously.
Well, I've been waiting to give some ideas about what can be done or give my perspective. I've been in this Alice Springer, I've been in town 54 years, and I think we're doing a wonderful job in many ways. We've got the food pantry, we've got you got Yellow Springs Equity, we've got 365 reparations, we've got Home Inc. We've been doing a lot of things, but most of these, I guess I would call it more charity. They're not dealing with the systemic problem. I mean, I came to Yellow Springs because it was so diverse, it was a wonderful place, and I've seen all of that just deteriorate over the years. And, we do these Band-Aid things, Home Inc. has done a wonderful job, the food pantry, but these are Band-Aids. We need something systemic. And we just need like the council and the school board. The school board, I voted for the levy this last time. I voted against it a couple, but the school board has to, and the village has to recognize the decisions and how they impact those who don't have much. And we have to get more creative in helping those who don't have the means, so that we just don't put more and more and more that maybe the wealthy people can afford, but the poor can't. I mean, there's got to be some way to make a systemic change so that those who can pay their fair share, instead of taking all of it from those who can't pay, a disproportionate share from those who can. I just don't. I would like to see some creative solutions.
Hi, my name is Sandy King, and I've lived here all my life, really. My heart has always been here. And they say that home is where your heart is. This is it. This is where I get that feeling. It's the feeling I grew up with. And it's the feeling I've had all along. It's a spiritual place. The Tibetans come here and bless the water. The Native Americans come here and bless the water. It's a very spiritual place. We need to remember that and keep that in mind and keep that in our hearts. And I think the number of people I see in this room kind of proves that out is that our heart is here. This isn't a new problem. It's been going on quite a while. I'm one of 6 children. I was born on the corner of Stafford Street and Fairfield Pike in a little cinder block house. We had 6 children and 3 adults, my grandmother and my 2 parents in that little cinder block house that Yvonne and Jackie lived in for the years that followed. And my parents had to move us outside of Yellow Springs because they couldn't afford to raise their children in town then. And my mom was a registered nurse. There was 2 incomes in the house. And my dad was an electrician. So we had professionalism and we still couldn't afford to live here. I've been able to come here and go and come and go. And a lot of it has been based on the kindness of others. And I want to also say that I support what Patty and, I've forgotten her name. Kate, I'm sorry, Kate. Had said about communal living. There are many places here in town that could accommodate that. But we also have people who buy houses here and then they move, even out of the country, and then charge $2,500 a month for their house. $2,500, I can't even imagine affording $2,500 a month. I guess I can't even fathom it. And it just seems to me that if they would maybe sell that to somebody, can we get people that have some money to maybe buy some of these larger houses and make communal living situations? But you also have to think about when you have a communal situation, as you can find it out in the Vale, if you go there are difficulties in communal living, and you have to live cooperatively and responsibly in that type of situation. And there's meetings that need to happen and things like that. So there's organization. And I happen to know that Lori Dreamspinner made that happen in her house years ago. She had many people coming and going out of her communal space. And I just really want to encourage those who have rentals, don't do Airbnb, don't. If you gotta leave the town, sell it to somebody in the town, from the town, not a bunch of new people that just want this to be a tourist trap. There's a lot of heart here, and we need to keep that heart here. And that's kind of all I have to say.
Wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Dr. Schluter was saying. It stymies me sometimes, especially being somebody of my age. How I remember how innovative this village was, and how everyone who's been here, since before I was born, they don't seem to remember. Like solving the world's problems at YSI, the first blood gases monitor. Like, what? My grandfather worked there. The first incorporated daycare center, one of the first in the nation, is the Children's Center. Mills Park Hotel, which is a replica of William Mills' house, that sat across the street after he was long gone, was an integrated day school my grandmother attended in the 20s, the teens. This is not something that's typical. This doesn't happen everywhere. I was at my grandfather's house, 517 Fairfield Pike, On Saturdays, there would be someone who was Jewish, there would be someone who was Muslim, there would be someone who was literally a clown, Priscilla. A fire eater, I'm not kidding. And Koku Wright making Japanese food. So, and this is, my father calls it nostalgia poisoning. But we know how to solve problems. Why all of a sudden we don't know how to solve problems? And I'm not, well, this is not supposed to be a motivational speech. But we know how to get things done. And we have to go about the business of doing it. We need to be doers. Like sitting around talking about things is great. Echoing the sentiments of others is awesome. But look, especially with like, what I'm getting from this is affordable housing, and that means apartments as far as I'm concerned, period. That's all it means. And that can't happen without subsidies. But the federal government is throwing billions of dollars at affordable housing right now. The state of Ohio has some of that. There are projects going on in places like Batavia, Ohio, where my aunt and uncle, my dad's side are from. Batavia is rural, and they have brand new affordable apartments. So it's going to require looking at other models and not reinventing the wheel. Although in a lot of cases we did invent the wheel and then forgot, and now we're like, well, how do we do it? The Green Metropolitan Housing started in Yellow Springs. That was the first metropolitan housing, affordable housing in the county. One of the first in the state. So we know how to do it. This could be really sad evening. but it doesn't have to turn out that way. I just wanted to piggyback off what Dr. Sayer was saying. I don't think that it's impossible. I don't think that we cannot do it.
Yeah.
You piggybacking? Are you piggybacking?
Thank you, Carmen. Does anyone know why? I didn't know that the subsidized housing was the part that you have so much information.
It was an intentional project.
Right.
What, so
For
what?
diversity in this county. Then Donna Denton was connected to it.
We did a whole bunch of first things.
So, okay, I'm gonna let that stand. And see, this is for me another, I love her. She just speaks so well, knows so much. And that's another thing as far as me personally living on the edge. That's another thing that's going to assist me. Feeling like I have a voice, feeling safe. Those are the things that can help me concentrate on things like growing my finances. And another thing I know is going to help me is being with people that are reflections of my mother and my grandmother, those that gave me my strength. So that's another thing that I'm looking forward to having in Yellow Springs is a sisterhood. Because that's another thing that's going to help me get out of living on the edge. So these are, Carmen and Kate cannot leave here. She's living here. She gives her life to this place. Come on. Kate, she's my go-to. No. And then also another thing that can help with living on the edge is we have a feminist health fund, but I think we need a men's health fund right now too. And another thing that can help us from living on the edge financially is if someone can come to the complex that I live in, we are restricted from growing food. So if you can teach us how to grow food and be more independent that way with pots or whatever the options are for us.
Folks who haven't spoken yet, could we have some more voices?
I'll just hand the microphone to you if I come
I'm Kellyanne Tracy. I was blessed to arrive in Yellow Springs 5 years ago. I was very attracted to Yellow Springs because I saw the bravery in the past and people being themselves and being embraced for being themselves and having a voice and be feeling free to use that voice and not being condemned for it. And I had not experienced that in other parts of the country. And I was looking at having to retire. I was living in San Diego. I was living in a double wide trailer with 3 other people, because it's the only way that I could afford to have any kind of a life and have a lifestyle. I had a mutual friend that lived here, that had moved here maybe a year before, who was posting on Facebook all the time about how wonderful Yellow Springs was. And so I started delving into the history and reading everything that I could about it. And I became absolutely infatuated with it and got in my little Subaru and headed out east. Yeah, out east. And I was really excited when I got here because I felt like I'm a caregiver. And while it's a really heartfelt job and extremely needed, you know, the pay isn't terrific. But I really felt like coming out east here that I could possibly afford to finally own my own little place. And when I first got here 5 years ago, that really was a possibility. That's not a possibility today. In 5 years' time, that possibility has been ripped from me. I do live on the edge. I'm really good right now. I'm stable right now. I'm able to even have a little bit extra. I work full time. I work part-time. I have my own little business and I volunteer in my 60s. I very likely will not have any type of retirement until I'm in my 70s because I don't have a pension. I don't have a retirement plan. I don't have a 401k. So I'm going to have to get the most I can out of Social Security. So that means I'll be working until I'm at least 70 years old to be able to do that. 3 years ago, I went to a Black Lives Matter meeting and went to sit down on my chair and fell and broke my hip. I don't have a significant other here. I don't have a family here. My family's all back west. And I had 3 months of having to stay home, and it was the people here in Yellow Springs that took care of me. People were coming over and opening the door in the morning for physical therapy to come, and people came at night to close the door. Neighbors fed me. You know, people helped me get my medication, get my groceries, and do all that. And it was the time during COVID. I had a perfect stranger, a woman I'd only met once, that came in and bathed me because I hadn't had a bath in 10 days. That was the Yellow Springs that I moved here to have. But it also puts me in a real predicament because that means I am on the edge. If that were to happen today, I don't know whether I could remain here. I was lucky enough at that time to have a little bit of money saved that took me through that 3 months. I don't have that today. If I were to receive, I'm a month-to-month renter, which the majority of people in Yellow Springs who rent are month-to-month rents. And I think it's really one of the most inhumane things that you can have happen to you because you're literally 30 days from losing everything. I mean, if you have to think of how many of us, if you were to walk into your home today and they told you you had to be gone in 30 days, how many of us would be able to find a place to live, have the money saved up for a deposit and all the transfers of all of the utilities, and then the deposit and the cost of moving and all that associated with you? Would you be able to stay in Yellow Springs? I very doubt that I would be able to. So that's where, like, that what I feel like is really living on the edge here is that, yes, I might be good today, and there's no guarantee that I will be tomorrow. What I hear and what I've seen is so many people who have the ability to make the difference talk a lot about wanting to do that, but I don't really see a whole lot of action. I see like a core group, and I've been really involved in the community since I've been here. And I see like there's a core group of people who are really the people who are making things happen and doing things. And a lot of people talk about wanting to do it, but there's not a lot of movement. When I went back and did some research on the possibilities of having larger complexes that were lower income, time and time again, the opportunities came and then they fell through. Since I've been here, there's been 2 opportunities where we've had people come to the community that said, we want to be able to provide low-income housing, and they fell through. We weren't prepared for it. It feels to me like with the incredibly intelligent people, with more higher education than any place else in Ohio. Why, with all this incredible education, these people who are movers and shakers, if you wanted it, it would be done. Period. If we wanted it, it would be done.
Sure. I just have a short, suggestion. I think this is a really important thing that we're doing. I appreciate Diane and everybody putting it together. And, I would volunteer to just, if we could make a list of anyone who wanted to continue the conversation. I don't know how frequently, but it just seems like, this is bigger than we can solve everything now. So I would just like to have that sense of continuity or continuing. So, later I'll get some or something. If anyone wants to, oh, yes, okay.
We can provide that in paper.
If anyone has registered and checked in on our kiosk system, your email is already registered as somebody that participated today, and we can start a communication chat that way. And that way everybody's not seeing everyone else's email accounts, and phone numbers. So that's an access point. I had a contributor online. Let's see, Sheila Drennan says, I agree with Sandy King. There would be more affordable rentals in Yellow Springs if council and or Chamber of Commerce had not rolled out the red carpet for Airbnbs. There is some effort to increase the density of those here. We need those places to remain rentals if they were before. And just one comment on the affordable housing opportunities that have been explored in Yellow Springs, because the senior center was a part of that process. In many cases, we failed to score the necessary points to get the federal match dollars for subsidized housing because of the general income level of our community. So it's the same thing that happened with our schools, that we didn't score enough to get the money that other communities did, like Carmen's family, because we are also a fairly well. Yeah, and you probably know these facts.
I think Matt wanted to talk to. Yeah. Again.
Okay, so just really quickly, I'll go to my, with regards to subsidized housing, federal money is available, rural housing development loan from the USDA is available, and HUD and USDA work together for that scoring. So we can, like, so that is an obstacle, but it is not. It's not the biggest, it's not. I mean, it is, but it isn't. And as for the Airbnb stuff, once you purchase the property, you can do exactly what you want.
Oh, yeah.
We can't, we don't get to tell, there's stuff, but. Yeah.
Every single person here has, oh, right, hi, Matt Raska, I live here. Every single person that has spoken today has mentioned housing, and there are other communities that are trying different things. For example, Minneapolis eliminated zoning that allowed only single-family zoning, so they allowed apartments everywhere in their city, back in 2017. And since 2017, rent growth on average across the United States has been 31%. But in Minneapolis, it's not 31%, it's 1%. In Portland, which did much the same thing, 2%. Here in Yellow Springs, you can observe that over 50% of all apartments are residential C. And if you like throw out what's the one that caught on fire? I can't remember. Hawthorne. If you throw out Hawthorne, it's like 66%. It's an enormous skewing of the data. And all those permitted by right apartments do not have to go through planning commission. And this is permitting rather than traditional use requirements for apartments, duplexes, ADUs are something that can be made by right by planning commission. Thank you.
Again, were you?
Hi, I'm Peggy Laughlin. I'm not gonna say a whole lot. I want to comment on the fact that, everybody's pretty much they're not saying the same thing, but everybody's coming from a similar place right here. And I think, like we just said, the biggest issue here is housing, affordable housing. And there is a tremendous need for it. Obviously, we're just the tip of the iceberg that are here tonight. I've had lots of conversations with people over the past couple of years. Everyone's feeling squeezed, not everybody, but a lot of people are feeling squeezed. And for some reason, Yellow Springs has just not really ever been very much interested or invested in doing real affordable housing, such as apartments. I mean, why no apartments? It's just crazy. I live by myself in a relatively small house. I would love to downsize, but there's nowhere smaller to go. I really would, I think we've really kind of talked about that issue a lot. What I was kind of hoping to get out of tonight was sort of like, really, where do we go from here? Because there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of, I think, people who are willing to get involved and get moving on this kind of stuff. Because we're all at a place where it's a necessity. And so, conversations about co-housing, there's a lot of people that live here in town who are single, who could be doing something else with their houses or, renting them out. Of course, there's a lot of things that go along with that. And, people think, I don't want to just rent my house out to just anybody. I want somebody that I'm comfortable with. I want somebody that I can, converse with. I want, and that's a human need. You really want to feel safe and comfortable in your house. But, I was wondering if we could set up more of that kind of conversation and maybe get people talking to each other about, yeah, I have a house, and you need a place to live, and, would my house work for you? Or I need a place to live. What's your situation? It really just needs to happen because, the financial aspect of living in Yellow Springs, it's not gonna decrease, things are not gonna go the other way. You're only gonna keep going up. And, like I said, there's a lot of people out there who are really hurting, really struggling, and really needing movement quickly. We don't have a couple of years, basically, to be like, well, maybe next year we'll figure it out, or maybe the year after. Well, the time is now, really. So,
Maybe when the senior center moves, we could bring in a bunch of beds.
David Turner, I've lived here a little over 40 years. It's unrealistic to expect the community not to change substantially over time or in any particular direction. And I hear people talk about the good old days in Yellow Springs a lot, and since we moved here in 82, I know, of course, that the good old days happened before that, because I hadn't had a lot of experience on it. And I would say, I tried to figure this out, and my theory is that the Gegner barbershop thing in the early mid-60s, things were awful before then, and then there was the Antioch strike in 73 or so. So my conclusion is that the good old days in Yellow Springs only existed for a few months in 1968. We should stop trying to go back to they should, but they're gone. We should stop trying to work on the good old days. And a more realistic example is I started at YSI in 1987, and we had a printed circuit board manufacturing, which employed people who could make perfectly good money with good retirement and medical benefits and do good work. And there was about 15 of them with no skills, and they were fine. In 5 years, we started buying boards pre-made, pre-tested, and those jobs are gone, as are all the other ones from Morris Bean and Vernay and YSI and every place else that was developed by the people who developed those things 50, 60, 80 years ago. Those jobs are not coming back. For us to get another $1 million in tax revenue for the village, current income tax would take another 666 jobs for people working in Yellow Springs, making over $100,000 a year taxable income. So that's not likely to happen either. We need to have some quantification and definition of things like affordability and the other popular terms when talking about these things. And then the problems that exist need to be clearly defined and prioritized, as do the solutions. We have to be realistic about it. It's great to complain about how awful it is, but as a number of people have said, we can't do things, but we have to be realistic about it.
On the affordability issue, or what that means? Sorry.
All kinds of quantification. How many people do we need? How many houses do we need? How much money do we need? A bunch of different things need to be quantified instead of just saying, we need affordability.
Can I finish what I was going to say? Thank you. I know. Really, it's all right. So, what I was going to say, with regard to affordability or workforce housing, the federal government says it's 30% of your gross income. That's what affordability means, according to the federal government. That's what affordability means. So when someone says affordability, it's that 30% of your gross income. And whatever that
For housing.
for housing, 30%. So apartment, if you're at your mortgage, your rent, whatever, it's 30%. And anything above that 30% is considered not affordable. So that's the number.
So folks, as we wind down, we tend to wind things up at around 8:30, so we're in the ballpark.
I have I'm Lynn Kramer. And I've lived here 55 years now. I was here in 1968. I'm the reason it's not fun anymore. Anyway, I had two comments. One comment built on both what Patty suggested and what Dave suggested. I'm a member of the Inclusive and Resilient Yellow Springs Coalition, along with many other people in the village, including Carolyn and other people. And we are going to be sponsoring 2 sessions on affordability in the spring. One to talk about education, it's sort of an educational thing to define terms and come up with and present what are we talking about when we say affordability? What does that mean? And another, which will be based on the Village Cafe concept, where we get to talk about what that means to us in small group conversation. So I just want to let everybody know that those things are being worked on, and we're happy to collaborate with anybody who's interested in it.
The Village Cafe is this Sunday.
Is one this Sunday, there'll be another one in the spring, one before.
Sunday where?
Sunday at Mills Lawn in the gym.
And this is really just to start talking and listening. I think that's all I have, unless you have a question for me.
Things that people have said tonight and things I've thought of in recent years, I could see a lot of value in a housemate brokering service. Someone who's possibly willing to rent a room in their 3 or 4 bedroom house. They raised a family in, and now they're a widow or a widower. But they could go and get advice, and then it would be a place where people who are looking perhaps for a room could come and be vetted. And it would be a little more intimate than a normal real estate rental service.
That's a great.
But I don't have an example of where it's been done.
Carolyn knows.
Carolyn.
There is a service like that. It's an online service. It's been used quite a lot in at the East Coast. Stephanie Lawson, our support services manager, has been considering it as an option here, specifically for seniors. So if there's a broad interest, that's the only way to get it started. You can't start with 1 or 2 people. You have to get dozens of people to pull together.
I've only been in Yellow Springs for 3 years. Actually, not quite 3 years, 2.5. And I migrated here from northern Kentucky, Bellevue, Kentucky, which is the closest thing to Yellow Springs that I can imagine. And I love it. And I've had an opportunity to meet and become close with quite a few people here, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly. And I'm listening to all the conversations. I wanted to speak about the rental scenario in particular. I had a 4-bedroom home in northern Kentucky, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and the basement was finished. So I moved downstairs, and then I rented out, my husband got divorced, and I rented out the 2 bedrooms, and each bedroom had a bathroom attached to it upstairs. And it paid the rent, it bought the food, it took care of the utilities, and gave me some extra money to work with. It's a workable, possible solution. When I moved up here, I rented the top floor of a home on Xenia Avenue, which was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and it was beautiful. I don't know how many of you know Linda Kinney, but I rented the top of her home. And she and I got along just absolutely wonderful. I'm now renting through one of the real estate companies here. I rented a smaller place because I wanted to reduce my expenses. I'm a single woman, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm really trying to reduce my costs. So I moved into a smaller 1-bedroom place up here, and I'm renting the top floor of a 2-family, could be a 2-family house, that is leased out by Dunphy. And I want to say that it works very well. So if anybody does have a home here and they are thinking about doing something like that, you have some questions about it. I wrote my own contracts for my house. I set some very standard baseline rules. My roommates were, I knew how to interview them. I did it for about 6 years, and I never had a problem with any of my roommates. So that is a very real possibility.
Sounds like the head of the organization.
That meeting of the school board's at 7 p.m., Dorothy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any brief comments before we wrap up?
We're gonna get a piece of paper for Patty, so if you want to give her your information, or Carolyn, I don't know, how are you going to provide that to us?
There is a way to add yourself as a new user on that kiosk now.
Right.
So you can do it that way. Or I could register folks here.
How will then that be convened? Who will have access to convene?
Who would like to take the list and do something with it?
Patty will. Maybe that's not why she's raising her.
I'd be glad to, if anybody else wanted to do it with me, that would be fine.
I can assign that Stephanie would help you be in touch with folks. Stephanie Lawson, our support services manager. I wanted to repeat that I was recording this. Is there anybody who objects to this being available to be shared?
So thank you, everyone, for coming. I guess I'll say my own takeaway after a while of feeling pretty discouraged is a feeling of energy and hope, and that feels really good. So thank you. Thank you. Sure. Vaccine, thank you. Hey, man, thank you for coming.